This episode is brought to you by Transylvanian Real Estate. The deal of your life, or for your life. Woo!
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Podcast Assemble, show where you come for your rambling geeky download. My name's Tommy and I am delighted as always to be joined by my friend and co-host from across the pond. It's our resident 19th century physician of the pod. He's subscribing opium and cocaine to get through this podcast. It's DL!
Yeah. Those are my favorites, babe. One after the next.
That's how I get through this podcast. I get a bit itchy by about 15, 20 minutes
it just depends what kind of like day you're having with which one you start with, you know? Like that's the real debate every morning.
Tell me, doctor, which should I be starting my day with, cocaine or opium?
Not coffee or tea. Well, you need some of the white girl.
Some of both?
Yeah,
a little bit of
both.
Woman. Put it in a Coca-Cola and mix it all together.
Okay. Well, we're back.
What a start to the pod. How are you? What a start to the new year.
There goes all our sponsorships.
Back on our bullshit.
It's good. It's good to be back. You know, it's good to
see you.
Hear your sweet voice. What was I going to say?
Dulcet tones. We're still not sure what that means.
Dulcet tones, your sweet vice. No, how you been, man? Things good? Yeah.
Buddy, everything is great. Thanks for... You. Oh my God, you asked. I actually have a note here, which is like, always say thanks. I'm good for asking. I appreciate it. Thank you. It's nice.
It's my New Year's resolution to pretend to care more than I typically do.
And subscribe and prescribe you opium.
Yes.
Okay, I'm happy for both of those things. That would be very nice. I appreciate you. No, things are good, man. Christmas was phenomenal. How was your first Christmas in the UK?
It was cool. It was like we had one of those magical moments over the break, or like right before the break, maybe, where it was like we were just kind of hanging out, watching a movie, drinking, laughing about stuff, and then like all of a sudden I look outside, I'm like, holy shit, it's snowing! Like, and it was just like white everywhere. Like it had been going for a bit, you know, and it was just like white everywhere on our little balcony and piling up. And
little snowball fight.
Yeah, went out there, made a snowball, threw it. It was nice. It's good fun. Good fun.
Just a snowball. That's all you had. Just enough for one.
Well, I was like in my boxers and like socks, like no socks. So I like went out there and it was really cold on my feet.
It gets cold.
I could not stay for long. Just
do you ski by any chance?
I snowboard.
You snowboard? This is the most white middle class podcasting conversation of all time. I've just realized.
What? Why does that have to be white? You saying black people can't snowboard? Jesus, bro. Jesus, bro. We're in 2025. They are big snowboarding.
2025. Is this podcast turning 5 years old this year? Is that really happening? Can you believe that?
I guess it's been a while, dude.
It's a full toddler. Our podcast would be going to school this year.
Well, my dad had me at 21, and I've had my first podcast toddler going to school at 34.
Round of applause for the podcast, everybody. We're still going.
Wow, we are. Our generation is very, very ahead of its time. You know,
behind.
Yeah,
yeah, but we're going to live longer, so we'll have to pay taxes longer. So we might as well wait longer to have kids.
Sure, hope so. On all accounts.
Talk to me about Christmas in the UK. Then you got away as well, right? How was your birthday?
I've done a lot actually since we last hung out. We had
I mean, it's been 3 or 4 weeks. We took a nice break. I enjoyed a little break. I didn't have to sound like so hoarse all the time. I could just relax for a while. It was nice. Tell me about Iceland.
Because that's why you're hoarse, because of all the podcasting?
Of course. Yeah, it's nothing else.
Okay. It's not the opium or the cocaine.
I mean, 100%, but they're just keeping me going.
Yeah, we did a bunch of stuff. Like Gail's family came over, and so it was a crammed house for a bit. Crammed apartment, I should say. And we did some stuff around London, and then ducked out to Budapest for a bit, and then hosted everybody at ours for New Year's, and then pretty quickly thereafter, like a week later, ducked out to Iceland, and that was really cool. It's a very inspiring place. Like it's very moody, you know. It's a moody little drive.
Like Nosferatu moody, or moody like.
I mean, I didn't think I was gonna be eaten, but but no, like yeah, there's definitely like you could definitely film a horror movie or two there. But no, it's super, like, it's like Queenstown in the sense of how unique the scenery is as you're driving, and it's just very breathtaking, and I highly recommend it. Like, very nothing else like it. Very felt like I was in the north.
I've wanted to go to Iceland for a long time.
Yeah.
It's such an interesting landscape. It's so different to anywhere I think I've ever been.
I don't think there's anywhere like it.
Yeah. Did you see the Northern Lights, even briefly?
Saw a bit of them. We actually got pretty unlucky with the cloud cover. Like, it was like perfect for the Northern Lights the week before. And you can't like predict this, obviously. But it was like perfect the week before. And then we got there and it was like cloudy. It rained a bit. But we got like, it wasn't cold. Apparently it was like -27 the week before. So like it would have been perfect Northern Lights weather, but like you'd have died of like frostbite. Yeah. So, you got to see them.
Means, right? You know what that means? It just means you have to go back so you can see the Northern Lights.
Yeah. I mean, there's also like a bunch of other places where you can see the Northern Lights. So, but I do want to go back there in summer. So there's
it must be really nice in summer.
It's on the list.
Nice. Well, guys, if you haven't realized yet from all those little snide jabs and all of the starting points, we're talking about Nosferatu this week, a movie that was on, I think, you're most excited for last year at some point. So we finally got to it. It's happening. And it's certainly a lot of things. I can't wait to talk to you about it.
I think more so it like finally came out. It's not that we finally got to it.
Yeah.
Like I announced this in my most anticipated 2022 or something.
Fuck.
I don't know how long ago it was, but it was a long time ago. Mainly because I like love this director.
And there's
actually, I say that, but there's like quite a few of his movies that I haven't seen yet. I haven't seen The Lighthouse. I haven't seen The Witch.
Yeah, neither.
So
Lighthouse is one that's been on my list for so long. I keep going to like flick it on, and it'll be like, I don't know. It'll be like a random Friday night, and I'll be like, "Oh, I'll put this on," and then like the partner will come and sidle up and be like, "Oh, I absolutely cannot watch The Lighthouse with."
No, she won't. Like, there's no. It's a solo movie with whiskey.
Totally.
Oh, like
totally.
while the partner's away, because like it is kind of one of those. It seems like it's one of those boring movies, and
right.
So, and it just feels like a movie, those guys are drinking a lot of whiskey, surely a lighthouse guy. So you would want to like kind of be in their vibe,
That mindset. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, it's about isolation. So it's interesting. And as well, our partners, we've talked about this. We actually talked about The Northman on the podcast a long, long time ago. Go check that episode out. Our partners just randomly decided to come with us to see The Northman, a movie which we both knew they wouldn't like. No shit. They absolutely hated it.
This is your mistake. You don't tell them that it's the same director. You have to go alone? Kat was like, no, I'm not going. I saw you. I just didn't tell her. I was like, no, it's
Nosferatu.
I said it's a horror love story, which is like accurate.
Sort of accurate.
It's accurate. It's a horror movie with a love story.
Let's talk about it. Let's hold off till we get there. But guys, there will be time codes in the description if you want to jump around. If you want to listen to us banter about our weeks, feel free to stick around. As I say, there'll be time codes, as always, supplied by Mr. Matthew Bliss of mbpod.com. And while you're there looking at the time codes, looking at the beautiful work Matt does every single week, why don't you give us a 5-star review? It's right there. You can do it in an app. And whatever app you're in, you can give us a 5-star. It would help the podcast with things like algorithms, things we don't truly understand. I actually passed the pod a couple of times over the Christmas period because do you ever have that situation, DL, where someone's talking to you about podcasts and stuff and you almost have to reluctantly be like, yeah, I do a podcast. Yes, if you want to hear it, this is what it's called. Do you ever have that?
I've had it. Yeah, I've had it. It's.
I feel like all the wrong people ask me about my podcast. Like none of the people I think would like it.
Yeah, the last time it happened, it was a group that I thought might actually listen to it, so it worked out.
Even better. Well, mine was like family members of my partner who absolutely would not like our podcast, but they asked. But if you guys want to pass the pod, that would be fabulous. DL, man, what have you been up to, buddy? What have you been watching? What have you been reading?
So like we should definitely be talking about Severance, the old Severed.
Oof. There is a lot to talk about with Severance.
Yeah, so like we'll save that as something to talk about together, I guess. But
do we think we do a full episode on Severance when it's all out?
I would be down.
I would be so down.
It's one of my favorite, but it's almost one of those shows. It's like more fun to do week by week and talk about your theories. I'm definitely down to talk about it at the end as well. The book, I've actually been listening on audiobook to Ender's Game. You ever read that book?
Oh, okay, cool. I know that's a friend of the show, Jacob's, one of his favorite books. He's recommended it a couple of times.
It's really good. I mean, I'd already read it. And I think I'm one of the few people that read like the whole trilogy as a kid because I liked the first one so much. But it's like one of those books where the rest of the series is like nothing like the original.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah, it happens. Dune's the same way.
So, like, I know they made a movie of it, but, like, what's the general premise? I don't know if I ever watched the movie. I think I turned it off.
I'm excited to watch the movie because it got good ratings, and it's got the actor from, I've never seen it, but it's got the actor from Sex Education, the main goofy guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
When he's young?
Yeah, when he's younger. But I mean, like, he's like perma young. So
2013. It's got such a good poster. The poster looks so goddamn earnest. Look at them all. Look at Harrison Ford's face.
yeah, I mean, Ender looks pretty. He's a perfect casting for it, to be honest.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. 6.6 out of 10 on IMDb.
Yeah, the ratings, I thought it was more like 80, but the letterbox is like 2.8, but I will be watching it. All that said, like, it was, I basically was like, man, there's this part of like the thing I'm trying to write where I'm like struggling a bit. And it's based, there's like one of the storylines is you're following like the war games like that are unfolding ahead of like World War III before like that whole shit goes down and creates another timeline. And I was just trying to I was struggling to like think about like how to think about what I wanted the war games to look like when you like that's a big part of the one character's arc. And I remembered that there was a lot of stuff like that in this book, and so I just wanted to go back and like read it to like be inspired, not ape it, but just kind of have me think about how someone writes about it. And I'm like halfway done already because I've been listening to it so much. It's really good. It's a good book.
That's epic.
Yeah,
nice. You've actually inspired me, DL. I've actually set myself a task of over this year I want to write some chapters for a book of my own. So I've been I got inspired over the festive period. I went to a exhibition and I saw a bunch of very cool iconography that I've seen in person in real life. And I was like, holy shit, this one fable from the thing I was looking at. I was like, this either needs to be a video game immediately or I need to write a book about it. So yeah, you inspired me a little bit. I've started to build my own little book out. So maybe we could do a bit of riffing on that at some point.
A little read and share. It sounds like the pottery inspired you, not me. But I will take what is given. So thank you.
You're a very inspiring man, DL. Don't put yourself down. Like, I don't care what anyone says about you. You're very, you're very inspiring. Man. I actually have been reading a book as well this last few days, and actually a book recommended by friend of the show Kyle. I was reading the Brandon Sanderson book, The Mistborn, which is the Final Empire first book. It's an interesting read. Like I got pretty into it while I was doing it. I found a lot of interesting points of it around like the magic system, around like I liked some of the characters. It was an interesting read. I struggled because there's a couple of like really like main characters, POV characters, and I didn't love the second one. So the book's about
you didn't like Vin?
Yeah, correct. So the book's effectively like, you know this, you've read it, but like for anyone who hasn't read it, it's about effectively about a race of peoples who have been enslaved effectively by this Lord Ruler dude, and then there's like a ruling class. Not dissimilar to a lot of the stuff we've talked about recently, but the enslaved peoples are sort of being riled up by one certain person, Kelsier,
yeah,
who's effectively trying to start like a rebellion and start, you know, like bring these peoples to the fore where they deserve to be, out of the shadows. And I found Kelsier such an awesome character. He was just so interesting, and he had this like magnetism to him. Like every time I was reading about him, even if it was from Vin's perspective, I was like, and I know that's how he's supposed to be written, and I get it. That's actually good writing, ironically. But every time I flipped perspective to Vin's, I was like, holy shit, you are the most boring character I've ever read in my entire life. Why are you the POV character?
It's not. I agree. Kelsier is like an awesome character and probably the best part of that book. I think that like I just don't think I think he's gotten better at it, but I don't think he's like the best writer as it for like females. Like I don't know. I just like I don't think his POVs on women are just like kind of not as dynamic as the ones he has with like male characters in my experience.
It did feel a bit sort of tropey. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just like this is what a victim child is, because like that's all I don't know.
It's a good way of looking at it. Like
it's super one-dimensional for a while.
Yeah, no, 100%. There's a point where she's basically pining after one of these rich lord dudes, and I'm like, well, that's stereotypical. Like that's like you've really not exactly done much with this character here. She's just, you know, pick two female tropes and chuck them on a page. You know what I mean? It doesn't
feel like a girl that was like abused by men her whole life is going to just like suddenly fall for some prince. Like even though he's like the guy that's like a little more like goofy. I get that like that's what he tried
Quirky
to do,
and, yeah.
but like it didn't really work for me. It got really cool towards the end of that book, but not because of Vin.
Yeah, 100% agree. I think the whole uprising piece that's the most exciting bit of the book, and it takes 2/3 more of the book to actually start any of that stuff, which I completely understand, and it's quite nice that they've built, you know, the enslaved race up to be like that. I just don't think it's that interesting for, I don't know, 3/4 of it. And I got to the end of it and I thought, I liked the world. I liked the main character Kelsier for a while. You know, I like some of the other characters. I just don't think I'll return to the world. I know there's more books in the series, but it's not something that I am that interested in.
I tried, and I will eventually do it, but to your point, like the idea of like just all these fucking Vin chapters is just like so hard to get through. And then, but there's other POVs. The guy you like, because I talked about this offline, is a POV as well, Saeed.
Oh, really? Okay, that's cool.
Yeah. So character. Like there will be
the book itself. Yeah. Sorry, the book itself. It's so annoying because like you have these two POV characters the whole time, like the whole book, and it's just that. And then in the last like third, you just get a chapter where you're the rich lord's POV for some reason, and I'm like, why is this happening?
I don't remember that actually.
It was just nonsense. It was like a few pages. I was like, why am I getting this? This doesn't make any sense to have this as part of the book.
I honestly think I have a hard time when authors do that. It's like cheating. It's like you can't just like
totally.
You know, I do feel like it's like cheating. It's like you can't just like suddenly give me another perspective to like help your narrative, help you tie your narrative together. Like
it was more to make him seem more sympathetic, I think, at the time. Like he'd done a really good job of building up as, you know, like you say, this quirky, different lord who's not the same, doesn't hate the enslaved race. And then he just does this, and you're like, oh, well, I guess now I know that. It's not. Yeah. There's no ambiguity to it anymore. There's no shades of grey. It's just, yeah, right, I get it.
Yeah, but I also have so I got my Audible going, and then I have my Spotify audiobook going. And so like when my Spotify tops out, I just switch to Audible and listen to a different book. The other book I've got going, because it's like monthly, the other book I have going is The Way of Kings, which is like a re-listen of his. Yeah. And if you want to see Sanderson at his best, which is the guy that wrote the Mistborn series that we're talking about, that is his best. So I would encourage you. It's a way more dynamic world. He's like, and the female character's a little bit more fleshed out. I like her more. There's just a lot more going on in that one.
I've actually got that. I actually bought over Christmas. I was at Christmas. I was on Goodreads flicking through trying to find some things that I might be interested in. That was one of them. And I was like, yeah, I'll just buy a quick book and I'll carry on. I bought 4 freaking books. And
yeah,
in fairness, the Mistborn Final Empire was one of them. But I was like, this is going to take me forever. Like, I just don't have time to read 4 books right now.
Well, The Way of King's a big book as well.
It's chunky, man. All the books I bought were chunky. What else have you been up to, man? What's been happening? Tell me some stuff.
I think we should talk Severance.
Okay, let's have a little Severance chat. Go for it. How many episodes have you seen, though? Because we've only seen 1.
There's only 1. The next one doesn't come out.
Oh, no, it comes out on
tomorrow.
Fridays. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And I'm like, I was pretty pissed. I was after 3 years of waiting, dude, I was ready to binge 2. And like, because when it first came out, it was 2. They dropped 2.
Ah, really?
I know that. I didn't actually watch it when it came out, but I know that for some reason.
It teased the shit out of us because we flicked it on Apple and it had the tile for both episode 1 and episode 2.
Yes, it confused me.
And then I looked and it was like, next week. I was like, what?
Yeah, exactly. I went on it and I was like, wait, what? What? And Gail's like, yeah, duh, it says next week, but it's like in fine fucking small print, like in lumen small print. Yeah, I'm just but no, I loved it, dude.
Did you want to preface Severance for anyone who's not seen that show?
Oh yeah, if you're an idiot and you've never seen the show, go watch it.
Well,
now.
I think because it's an Apple TV, I think there's quite a few people who may not have got to it because Apple TV is a bit of a niche one. I feel like unless you are a real nerd like us, it's not something you just have, or you've used your 3 months free subscription.
Well, you can just do it for free, to be honest. Just go do it. Yeah. They constantly, it's like Apple's subsidizing like my watching of Severance, even though they don't need to, and they have always done.
Brilliant.
My buddy Tim, friend of the pod, Tim, the other day at New Year's was like, yeah, like Apple's like number one streamer, right? And everybody in the room was like, that is the most absurd take ever. But he actually put up a pretty good argument. he like started naming some stuff, and I was like, okay, it's not terrible.
Yeah.
Like I'd maybe like hit
Look,
rate.
I've made the argument before as well. Yeah, I did a YouTube video a little while ago, and I was talking about the Godzilla show they did. But they've like it's all really high quality stuff they put out. Like it's really good stuff. I just don't think they put enough out or regularly enough. So like, I mean, admittedly, they'd probably lose a little bit of that quality, but there's some good stuff on there.
Yeah, I think for Apple, for me, it would be like a third, a distant third. It would be next Netflix because you have to, because of the sheer amount.
We've talked about this.
Yeah. It would be HBO because, again, just it's like a better Apple TV with a bigger backlog, and then Apple, and then like I don't even know what else there is. The rest of them can die.
Oof. I mean, Disney.
Disney. I keep telling you I'm going to renew it, and I keep forgetting because I never watch it.
Well, we kept going on to find various like festive movies over the break, and it turned out they were all on goddamn Disney. Like,
yeah, they have all like our 90s
Disney.
movies.
I couldn't watch Die Hard.
Yeah, they have all the 90s stuff. That's fair.
They've got a lot of that stuff on there. I think as long as I've got it, as long as I have worked out a way to watch it for when that Daredevil show comes out, that's all I really care about.
Is it going to be like the same tone?
Yeah, it's meant to be. Yeah, they've reworked the whole thing to give it more of a darker tone.
Okay, interesting.
So what do you think about Severance? We're dancing around the point, talking about episode 1.
Yeah, no, I thought it was really good. I thought it like kept. I was, you get worried after a show because there's it's been 3 years.
Yeah.
B,
definitely.
This show feels like one of those shows where, like we've talked about it before, hard to redo that twist.
Lightning in a bottle.
Yeah, like lightning in a bottle, and also now it's out of the bag, and so like, what does that mean? It's almost like the Westworld thing. Like once they're sentient, it's like, okay, well that the big debate. Well, now they're out. Like what everyone knows wasn't that the big deal. Like what's the deal? They've done a good job, I think, of really like keeping the same flavor, all the small moments, all the character drama, and still having this air of mystery and adding new elements with spoilers. If you haven't seen it, stop listening now. With the Helena Egan kind of is she or isn't she stuff. There's just a lot of good.
Well, I don't think that's
drama.
Explicitly in the show. I think that a lot of people have sort of extracted that based on, what she's like in this first episode.
Yeah, I think it's like signaled enough that you're at least meant to be debating it.
Yeah, right.
I mean, she's like, true. Oh yeah, my night gardener. Like, tell me you're a rich person that has never heard of jobs.
Right.
In a better way than being like, oh,
tell me you're rich without telling me
what kind
you're
of
rich.
job would I like? What would I see when I would be outside? I can't name my, palace. I can't name my like house butler,
housekeeper.
I guess it's my gardener at night. Anyway,
that's such a funny scene, man. Everyone in that exact moment is so good. Like the John Turturro bit where he's like, at night? It's like pitch perfect.
He killed it. It's a good argument. I think they did a good job of treading it though, because there's the read of like she doesn't want to tell them because she doesn't want to let them know that she's an Egan because she's embarrassed and shocked by it.
Well, that's what I thought in the first point. Yeah.
And then there's also the read of like she's just saying that because she doesn't know what else to say because like she's so removed from being a normal person. And then there's the idea of like when she goes and says something like, no, like we're nothing like our innies. We don't owe them anything. You could read that from both perspectives because her innie hates the Audi and the Audi is like an Egan who actually believes that. So I think they've kept it vague enough, but I think she's obviously a spy. Surely she's a spy.
Well, I think what they've done really well is they've gone back to the basics of the show. Like a lot, like they're going to have to evolve it at some point because the point is these innies wanted to get out and they made it. So there's about like, how do you keep, that intrigue going and how do you keep audiences invested in wanting to see them get out without necessarily letting them get out? And they're trying to do that in subtle ways, like the Dylan character, they've offered him a chance to see his family and stuff, which also offers up another question, like, could he be the outie who's the innie? Do you know what I mean? Like, because any of them could be. I think it's going to be a bit of a misdirect with the Helly character. I think you're supposed to think that way, but it'll probably be someone else.
I don't think so. But that's the best.
Yeah. I think it will be. I think the whole thing, what I'm trying to say is they've done a really good job of bringing the mystery back.
Yeah.
I think there's so many ways they could have fucked it up. You talked about Westworld, prime example. They just carried on the story. Whereas they've sort of almost gone back to basics. I think that works really well.
Yeah, I agree. And I like that we didn't see anything of the Audis because it like leaves you hanging of like, Was it 5 months? Was it just a day? I think it's pretty clearly going to have been a day, not 5 months. And the reason why there's like a day where they didn't have anyone is they were in damage control trying to figure out what to do. And that's why I think like Helena Egan's going to be like, let me go down. I'll figure out what they know. And I think there's going to be an arc where like we see Helena almost like be reintegrated in the sense of she's going to start empathizing with the innies as an Egan, having
that could
been
be
around.
super
like,
interesting. I think that's a good angle to take it.
Yeah, I think it's a good arc.
So, sorry, take a step back a sec. I never asked you, do you recommend Ender's Game?
Yeah, of course.
Good. I don't recommend Brandon Sanderson Mistborn, FYI. But do you recommend Severance to our fantastic audience?
Yeah, Severance, if you haven't seen it yet, you're lame.
You're a fucking loser.
Yeah.
I think it's one of our top shows of the podcast, right?
I think it's a top single season for me. It's up there.
It's certainly up there. It's on that Mount Rushmore for sure. I got one other thing I wanted to talk to you about quickly before we move on. We watched a thing over the festive break. It is called Man on the Inside on Netflix. It got like a ton of hype. It's Ted Danson. It is about a senior gentleman whose wife passes away. I don't know if you've seen the trailers. The trailers paint pretty much the whole bloody season, but it's pretty good. His wife passes away. He's lost a bit of meaning, and he gets hired by like a private investigator to go into like a retirement home and find out about someone's missing necklace. And you know what? It's one of those shows where it's super just heartwarming. Every character is super relatable. We've all got like an older family member who is like half of these people. He makes like all these like cute connections. He bonds with his daughter more on the outside. It is just a really, really nice show that is totally worth just taking a few hours and going and watching, because it's not even that long. I think it's like 8 episodes, and I think they're only like 30 minutes an episode or something. So highly recommend Man on the Inside on Netflix. Season 2's already been confirmed too, so I'm pretty excited about that. It's the type of show that is so good that I can sit there and really enjoy it for its sort of not darker humor, but it's like less light humor. But I could also sit there with my mum and she will sit there and absolutely love it because it's a nice, heartwarming show.
Man, and it has Ted Danson. What mom doesn't want to watch something with Ted Danson?
Everybody loves Ted Danson. He's a beautiful man. He is actually a beautiful man, and he's very well dressed in this show.
I've seen him before in person.
Have you? Is he tall?
Yeah, he is tall. He's very tall. I was
tall.
getting coffee in Brooklyn, and he was just like they were filming something down the road, and he just was in the coffee shop, like clearly on a break, just like in between takes, getting a coffee.
Sick.
Yeah, it was cool.
When was this?
It was like a year or two after I moved to Australia. So probably like 2017, 2018, something like that.
Oh, wow. Okay. So significantly younger man. Our podcast wasn't even born at that point.
No,
was
still a long time ago.
A glint in your eye, dear.
Yeah.
Anyway, I definitely recommend going away and checking out Man on the Inside. Netflix, it's right there for you. You can get it anytime. Guys, if there's anything we haven't talked about that you recommend we go away and watch, please hit us up. You can find us at Podcast Assemble on Instagram or thepodcastassemble@gmail.com. We've taken a little break from the socials recently. I need to start making more social media content.
It is what it is.
There's been a lot of time that's been downtime over the festive period. It'll all come back. It'll all restart. But guys, send us memes, send us news, send us reviews. We love it when you do. We love to know what you think about stuff. Did you hate Man on the Inside? Tell us things. DL, do you want to preface our main topic this week?
You know I do.
It's the main topic theme.
It's not Nosferatu. It's not Nosferatu. It's Nosferatu. Nosferatu? Nosferatu.
That was an off-air conversation that I genuinely laughed out loud at. Like, the fact you had no idea what this is called makes me very happy.
It's a weird name. Nosferatu.
Nosferatu. Did you take Gail to see this, by the way?
Yeah, I just didn't tell her what it was. Well, actually, I did tell her. I told her it was a horror movie with a horror love story. A beautiful...
a love story.
Horror love. You know? Your classic romantic horror story.
I mean, that's certainly a take on it. Shot by Robert Eggers himself. We're going to do non-spoilers, then a little bit of spoilers. But do you have a stupid plot summary before we start?
I mean, this is like, you can't really spoil this movie. It's basically, it's pretty much Dracula, which
you all know
Taylor's
the story,
all this time.
Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is literally the original Dracula story.
Yeah, it is. I have a dumb summary, which is
please
vampire love triangle, but demure. You know, It's not like your average. It's not your Twilight. We're in Seattle where it's always cloudy, so we can go outside kind of story. It's your I want to suck your blood story.
A freak, yeah.
Yes. And by blood, I mean
so mine
nipple.
just took a slightly different direction. Mine is how not to lose a horny vampire in 10 days.
True.
He is this movie, and we're going to talk about this. It's so freaking horny in so many awkward ways.
Yeah, it's the point. The fact that neither of us though did something around like real estate deals is tough. It's a tough look for us.
Shocking. I feel like
dumb summary proves that real estate agents suck. Like have no soul, literally.
Yeah,
sold his soul.
There's a lot of time between watching this and actually talking about this. I watched this before Christmas, so what is it now? It's 24 of Jan we're talking on. So it's probably over a month since I've seen this movie, so it's a lot to come back to. So this is obviously from pod favorite and partner hated Robert Eggers. We've talked about him already. You know, The Northman, The Lighthouse, The Witch. Is it The Witch? The Witch. All good movies, two of which I definitely haven't seen, but has a stellar cast. You know, it's got Lily Rose Depp. Nepotism's not involved in this at all. Nicholas Hoult, Bill Skarsgård, Aaron Taylor-Johnson is back, baby. He's in so many movies this year. I don't know if you've noticed that. He's in quite a few films.
Yes, Aaron Taylor-Johnson is coiffed and ready to go.
He is coiffed. And it's also Willem Dafoe, who I freaking love in this and seems to be a bit of a Robert Eggers favorite.
I like Willem Dafoe. I don't know if I love him in this, but it's like I love him. So it's like, we'll talk about it.
I think he just tried something super different. I kind of like that. Do you want to talk about the story of this? Like, I know it's pretty obvious, but...
Yeah, I mean, essentially, it's this like super gothic, like tonal, color toned setting in the, 19th century, early 19th century, I think, mid 19th century. I don't even know.
19th century. Yeah.
Whereby you are kind of watching a woman who seems to be troubled and depressed by something that happened in her youth, which we actually see in the first scene, to be fair. It's not really a mystery.
Spoilers!
Yeah. We're just, would you call it a vampire rape from afar?
Ooh, well, he had to invite her in, so is there consent there?
I don't know, for her, like in the very first scene where she's just like called outside by the moon or something. Anyway, who knows?
No. Like the point is she's under his spell at that point, but to get to that point, she's had to invite him.
Like subconsciously, she invited him. Yeah, you're right. Anyway,
I think these are two of the big key themes of this film that we're gonna get to talk about. So there's obsession and infatuation, but also like the male gaze and a woman who is trying to break away from that. So I think there's a lot to unpack here that we're probably not equipped to do particularly well as not being females.
Speak for yourself, man. I'm gonna nail this. No, I just really like this movie. I don't know about the themes or the performances, but anyway, it's like a weird love kind of lust story, and set in Germany, Transylvania, where that turns a bit dark when a husband basically signs away. Some important stuff.
Marriage, yeah,
some important stuff. It's on accident.
Look, did it? You know this story, right? Everyone has seen this story. It's effectively an unofficial adaptation of Bram Stoker's Dracula, right? It's familiar beats. You all know this. Some of the characters are a little bit different. Some of the characters are worked into different people or different angles, but it's a familiar story. But like, I really like the fresh take on it. I think Eggers has got this like atmospheric visual style that's evolved over time and really works with this. It's stylish. It's really well put together. It's really well researched. Like the whole thing, it feels like you're in the 19th century. Like it's incredible.
He clearly like wanted to make, like he's been wanting to make this movie for a long time. You can tell.
Absolutely.
You like every scene
absolutely.
Is like,
There's like an awesome bit of trivia that he did, like as like a young person. Like I'm not going to say a child, but like as a young person did like a stage show of the original Nosferatu movie.
Oh my God.
Which you can tell has been simmering in his head all this time. He's probably had Willem Dafoe in the back of his mind to play that character for such a long time. I think one of the things to call out up top is some of the characters. We'll talk about characters a bit more, but the transformation of old mate Skarsgård, whichever one it is, there are too many Skarsgårds, into, Count Orlok-ula is just phenomenal. Like some of the some of the changes, like the way he looks, the acting chops he has in this film, it's just sensational. And I think that sort of encapsulates how I feel about this movie. Everyone is 100% committed and super earnest in this, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
I need to call out top. It's a classic Robert Eggers because there's a lot of women screaming in this.
Yeah, it's a classic Robert Eggers because Willem Dafoe's in it. It's a classic Robert Eggers because there's a Skarsgård. It's a classic Robert Eggers because it's just kind of creepy in a lot of ways. And like,
it
is. I think it's scary.
Did you see it as a horror film?
Yeah, I was scared.
Yeah, I was too. Genuinely.
Yeah, I was scared.
Like, I mean, we've talked about this in the pod a bunch of times. I'm not like a big horror guy because I feel like modern horror is more around like jump scares.
This had some jump scares.
I find
it did,
but
they were good.
But like it masterfully wove them together with good psychological horror, which is where I fit. Like if it's psychological horror, like, you know, anything from like Silence of the Lambs onwards, that's where I like to sit. That's the horror that I enjoy. I'm not saying Silence is full horror.
Yeah, you love brains.
I love brain, baby.
Yeah, you love it.
Yeah, and this has that in spades. It's fucking terrifying.
It is. That's part of the reason why when Willem Dafoe showed up, like being all fucking crazy, which I loved. But he was clearly on opium. It made me laugh a bit, and I was like, I don't know how I feel about this for the tone. You know what I mean? Like, he was a bit like eccentric as fuck, dude.
There was some dark humor in this, man. There was definitely some subtle dark humor.
He's like, it's like, what are you doing, dude? Like, clearly you are off brand right now. Like, people are really depressed. Like, and he's just out there just like, the ancient myths of it. And I'm like, okay, but you can say it differently. Like, anyway.
You definitely prescribed him the cocaine for that scene, didn't you? He was definitely.
He prescribed himself, dude. I don't even know what he was on. whatever Elon's on. He's on the ketamine.
Fuck me. I tell you what worked for me in this, by the way. It takes like the fact that we talked about this a minute ago. It takes a very well-known story and gives it a devious, like dark spin. It like the theme of a woman overcoming the male gaze and definitely obsession. It's not new, but the way it gives that Ellen character, is it Ellen? Ellen character, like agency in a way that definitely the original doesn't from the research I've done. I really liked that about this. I felt it gave it more depth.
Yeah. I thought Lily Rose Depp's character, no pun intended.
Not nepotism at all.
Why do you say that? I think she was good.
She is good.
I think she was good. I don't think
she's the best actor I've ever seen.
Did Johnny Depp? Well, in this, she was like, it was really well cast. I thought. Did Johnny Depp like produce this or something?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Is he an executive producer on this? Let's find out.
I don't know. I didn't see anything.
I think the haunting atmosphere of this really sets it aside for me. I haven't seen a good like period piece for a long time. It's got a lot of gothic in there. I think it's a fictional German town that it's set in, but that Victorian-esque atmosphere was pretty fucking sick.
I mean, the first 45 minutes of this movie are fucking awesome. Like when he's like going into like, there's so many shots, like with the countryside in the carriage shot where like the riderless carriage, like him going into the castle, the whole like 20 minutes when he's in the castle, like first meeting Count Chocula, you know, and that like the weird spirit vibes, like that was, and like the audio distortion. It was just, that was my favorite part of the movie. And like the lead up when he goes to the town.
I feel like that's all very Robert Eggers as well.
Yeah. It's just so creepy. And I just think, you know, Thomas Hutter, aka Nicholas Hoult. I mean, like we've all been there where you're like pressured, you're doing your work, and you have to like you're like, I'm doing this for us. We got to go farther, and I got to try a bit harder. Yeah. Don't worry, wife. This is for us. We need this. It's going to secure our life.
Then you sign your wife away. That's exactly the type of thing I do in work all the time.
We've all been there, and that's what we've all been
there. We all say it. We were tricked into it, but really, we were just trying to get rid. We're obviously men in 2025.
Yeah, just sign with your blood. It's the obvious choice. Sign with your blood in the script that looks like devil writing. Why wouldn't you do it? Tommy, why wouldn't you do it? You have to do it. You do it.
That gradual introduction.
You just have to do it.
Count Chocula is phenomenal.
Don't
the way
mind
he's sort of
the
like
demon.
Yeah. Right. Like, I know it's the 19th century, but don't worry about the fact
Bible?
that he is
Demons exist. Like, it's okay.
literally teleporting.
Don't be concerned. Or like the fact that like, you had a dream where he was stabbed in the chest like a vampire. Like, no, not concerned.
Nah, it's a dream. Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
it's a dream.
You've seen carriages drive themselves before, bro. It's on brand.
Totally. He was totally sucking on your chest.
This motherfucker's an idiot. There is some red flags.
I think he's more desperate than an idiot. It's interesting. So the thing I liked about that was, so you've got the Aaron Taylor Johnson character, which is Friedrich Harding, and Nicholas Hoult is Thomas Hutter. And they're like best friends from school.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nicholas Hoult owes Taylor Johnson money, but also he has this friend who's living this lavish lifestyle, and he wants that. He wants that for his new wife.
Yeah, it's pressure.
It's that weird external pressure, and that's kind of a theme of this as well. But also, I really like the Aaron Taylor Johnson character's sort of descent through the movie. Like, he gets more and more depressed as it goes on. Save a couple of these points for spoilers, but I actually think he does that quite well. He's a character. He's I'm going to say an actor for me who I don't love right now. He's been in quite a few misses for me recently, and he does pretty good in this.
He's generally a good actor. He just also does movies where it's like, show your abs and get paid kind of thing, which is like,
absolutely,
I would do it too if I had those abs.
He seems to be doing more show your abs movies than good movies at the moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but all you need is a couple good ones. Like, because no one goes to see the show your abs movies except for the same people that wouldn't go see this. So it's like, it works out for him. I don't judge him. Like I loved him in Bullet Train, and that was not too long ago.
Great film. But that's like 3 or 4 years ago.
Not too long ago. He played this character so well, though.
He does have a Britishness to him.
Give me a cigar, you dashing la, whatever. I can't do his accent, but he's just like so Victorian. It's like, mind your propriety, when like a woman like just speaks.
He definitely had slaves in his lineage, didn't he?
Yeah, it's just like she literally just like raises her head, and he's like, "How dare you? I am
how dare you?"
It's like Jesus, bro. You're playing this way too well. I don't know.
Do you know Matt Berry? Matt Berry would have been great for that character. How dare you? It would have been fucking brilliant.
He did well, and his hair was all wafted. Like,
it was so beautiful. Such beautiful hair. Look, I just can't take him seriously, and I think that's my problem. I think he's done too many abs movies, and he comes to this, and I want to see that character, and I want to enjoy it, but I'm just like, he's just abs guy now.
I know why you say that, but I think he's actually good enough that I can let it go. But there's moments where I think about it too, but I can escape it, but I can understand why you can't.
You just empathize with the fact he's putting his woman down all the time. You're like, yeah, I'm with that. I get that.
No, he loves his wife, bro. They have lots of babies.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, he does love his wife.
He doesn't like. To be fair, he doesn't like Lily Rose Depp. Which, like, to be honest, dude, if I was hosting this woman and she was going like doing what she was doing,
full
like,
psycho,
I'm not entirely sure that like I would be super chill about it.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. To be quite frank with you,
I'm not gonna like say that she like can't. I'm not gonna be like, woman, how dare you speaketh? But like, I would be like, maybe
I love it.
Some therapy.
I love it how her husband just fucks off for like 3 months and is like, can you just like watch her? Like, she won't, I promise you she won't do anything weird. Promise you she won't. I'm just going to be gone for 3 months. I might not come back, but yeah, she definitely won't do anything weird.
And she did quite a few weird things.
Like the whole movie.
Like literally the most weird.
I do think the world building of this really sets the movie up nicely. I think, like we're talking about characters quite a lot. I think the fact that it's such a meticulously created movie, everything from like the set designs, the costumes, it's super immersive. And I think you could have one of these 19th century movies and you end up just talking about the sets and the costumes a lot because they don't 100% work. But I think the fact we're more focused on character and development means that it was done perfectly. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, yeah, it was like the character's development, like everything's justified. All the premise is like justified. And
except him going away for 3 months and living with a demon for a few months.
Well, I think like, you didn't expect that. You didn't think that he thought he was just going to do a quick little fucking real estate Transylvanian dirty deal, old dirty Transylvanian.
Get his money and get out.
Yeah,
He's effectively a mix. Like, so the Reinfeld character from like Count Dracula stories is kind of split between two people. It's split between
That guy
effectively the
and his
Nicholas Holt,
boss.
Thomas Hutter character and his boss, which
Yeah.
is super interesting to me because like Nicholas Holt played Reinfeldt with Nick Cage
Like,
recently.
not too long
so,
ago.
Like, he is literally doing that character again. So it's
Is it though? Is it the same character? I didn't realize that
it's split between the two. So like if you think about it, so like
because he helped him kind of
in the original Dracula
Yeah.
movie, that Reinfeldt character he goes on the journey that Thomas Hutter goes on, meets Dracula, gets effectively possessed by him, and then helps him move, becomes his servant. Whereas his servant in this is his boss, so his boss is already the servant, and he's kind of manipulating in the background to get Hutter there, so that Count Chocula can suck his blood and get strong again. So it's kind of split over the two characters. Suck his chocolate out. God, that sounds terrible.
Ew.
That sounds like a Limp Bizkit album.
Ew. No, I agree. And like he obviously did a bunch of research on the folklore. Like I watched some interviews where he was talking about how like because like Dracula as he gets one of the things you see and like a little bit of not really spoilers, but like he slowly gets stronger. Dracula becomes like he's not like a Spectra. Well, he's called something else. He's not Dracula in this, by the way.
Count Orlok.
Yeah. Keeps like at first he's kind of like this weird spectre thing, which is awesome lighting, and you can't really tell. And then he becomes more like whole, but like also he's like he's kind of like this decomposing body.
Isn't that fucking weird?
It's
and
pretty,
I mean, like this is sort of spoiler territory, but you don't see it really, do you?
Yeah, you don't. But he has a mustache. Is my point. That hasn't left.
Hey, great mustache, deep voice.
Yeah, and I'm kind of like, what the fuck? Why is this my odd choice mustache?
He's very deep all the time.
Yeah, and then I looked it up, and apparently, like Eggers is like, I find me a Transylvanian lord from this era that didn't have a mustache. He's like, I'll wait. I will wait.
I really like that. That's that's such a good point. Fair enough. And I like that they went. I like that they kept some of the folk elements in this as well, about like the folklore about like Draculas and how some of the like what were they were like carny folk who were just outside his little village. They were like trying to find Draculas and kill them, and it sort of tips Nicholas Holt off. Is like, dude, watch out. He just doesn't listen to it. He's like, gotta get me that money.
I didn't understand, like, were they like there for any reason, or were they just there? Like they all just
it kind of felt like a hallucination, didn't it?
Yeah, like it was like this weird thing where it's like, oh, we know, but then they were also there like, no, you can't let him out. Like you can't, like there was obviously some history there where they had imprisoned him to that space. You know what I mean?
Yeah, mate. Yeah, that wasn't really fleshed out, was it?
So I'm like, well, surely you should have tried a bit harder to stop him. Anyway,
I want the prequel. I want the prequel of how they imprisoned him.
It was a good little
Count Chocula, the imprisonment.
Yeah. But how about that scene where he like unveils him and then chases him through the house because he's like, it's been like 3 days and he gets like stronger.
Oh my god, I was gonna call it out as one of my like. There's not a lot of action in this per se.
Yeah,
but that's that's a masterclass in not only tension building but like escalation. So like the way it starts and he's just poking around a bit, and Nicholas Holt's like, oh, this is a bit fucking weird, and then he can't get out. And then he finds this random door that takes him down to like the coffin, the sarcophagus thing.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, like, oh, it's like, I want to suck you. It's so good. It's so
like,
good.
Oh my god.
That was one of the most terrifying scenes in the whole movie.
Yeah. What else happened?
For such a tiny, weak man, he's pretty intimidating, though.
He's tall. He's pretty big. A big boy.
He's a bit skeletal. He's a bit of an interesting looking chap, isn't he? But like that's all classic Dracula stuff, right? None of that's. I think the point I've been trying to make throughout the whole list is that none of this is gonna blow you away in terms of the story itself. I think the bits that make this really unique are obviously the setting's incredible and how Eggers directs this, but the agency that's given to the Ellen character, visually, exactly. The agency that's given to the Ellen character. And just some of the performances, that Count Chocula performance, it's so dark and so grim. I just really like it.
Yeah, and I think that like the little sub elements of like the Victorian society are like woven into this really well.
Yes, definitely. The opium, cocaine.
Yeah, exactly. It feels like it's placed in this era in a way that is still accessible to the modern audience.
Interesting. Yeah, that's a good point.
But doesn't compromise like the air, like the tone and setting of Victorian Germany or wherever it's set.
That's a really good point. I didn't think about any of those things at all. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Like it's not inaccessible. I think that makes and I think that's the theme of Eggers' movies, to be honest with you. Like they're all in, I mean, he specifically does like not necessarily period pieces, but movies set in the past, and a lot of them do have that accessibility to them. You're not displaced watching his movies.
Yeah. I didn't feel like I needed a history lesson, but I also felt like I understood, like, okay, this is where we are in like this this is the rights, like the human rights of this situation. Like we're set in a different period. How about like the whole the whole ride, like, and symbolism with I don't know if it's getting into spoilers, but like the plague and stuff, like that was pretty cool too. How they played that into
talk
like
about escalation.
Yeah. Into like that like image where like there's just rats coming out of the ship. It's like, oh,
it's grim. Oh, it's so grim.
Oh, that's bad.
I think that whole ship ride over is actually one of the best scenes in the whole movie.
Yeah, it is. The amount of bad decisions that people make.
You've never seen Morbius, have you? It's like, the same film.
Oh my
it's the same
God.
thing.
Just like go down
Morbius,
during
aka Count Orlok-ula.
Yeah. Tough to be on.
But I mean, like when you're an uneducated sailor in the 19th century, like you're not going to make good decisions. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I mean, you expect more from the real estate agent, but you shouldn't. They're not much. They're not farther that much above uneducated peasant of the 18th century. Even today, to be fair, most of these ones, they're not high on the IQ scale.
Definitely in Sydney, I'll tell you that much. Do you have any tones or themes about this movie that we haven't already talked about?
Yeah, I mean, I actually didn't think about the tones or themes that much, to be fair. That's a good, like, I mean, the tone,
the ones we talked about,
is super gothic, and like, I would say there's like women's agency is definitely something that you touched 100%. On, and that they're like investigating here. Now, I don't like want to say what
women's agency,
say, but no, like what he's trying to say about it. I don't know if he has a statement. I don't think so. I think he's just showing it off and like what it was. But
I think it's about and like it's sort of edging again into the spoiler territory. I think it's about the strength to break away from,
break away from the manarchy.
I made up on the spot about finding the strength to break away from the male gaze and sort of dispelling the patriarchy in many ways. I feel like that's kind of the point of that.
Fair. There's also like a theme of like you can't like don't try to understand everything. Like science can only go so far, and not in a way that's like, oh, there's aliens. Like, but like no, like the scientific method is like question everything, and there's going to be certain things that like appear understandable that you have to like kind of think outside the box. That's whole William Dafoe's whole
neurotic character.
Yeah. What about?
I love that character, by the way.
What? Yeah, he's awesome. We haven't talked about him at all. We should. What about the idea of like the guy with who's the guy's name that's his boss? That's the other Ren whatever character. Renfield. Yeah, whoever the Renfield character is, I feel like they're saying something with him, but I don't really know what. He kind of just like wants the world to burn. Honestly, I don't know what else there is theme wise. I'm gonna stop. I tried, but
do you have a 3 best and a 3 worst then?
Yeah, I mean, just like some of the shots, like the carriage shots, and like going into the castle, and that whole castle sequence. I'll just bundle it all as one. The acting,
some beautiful trivia about that. There's some good trivia about that.
The folklore, the tone, the acting, all three, like everything I've already talked about.
Yeah, awesome. I just got Count Orlok-ula. I think that was such an interesting performance. I really like the agency of Ellen in this. We've talked a lot about obsession, infatuation, all of those things, female agency. I think all of that was given to her in spades, which probably wasn't in the 1922 version, I would probably suggest.
Mm-hmm.
And just Robert, I think it's kind of what you were talking to, the Robert Eggers visual style. Like, it's just so different, and it's so unique in quite a bland cinematic landscape in many respects. There's obviously fantastic directors who are doing very different stuff, but in general, he really stands out to me. Do you have any worsts?
I don't really have a worst, but I do rub up against, as I talked about, like Defoe, and I how eccentric like he is in this, like
Juxtaposition to the whole tone.
yeah, I just kind of feel like maybe a more like haunted performance might have, where he gets kind of like he escalates to that cackling thing at the end
maybe.
that we get, would have
He
been
almost goes the other direction in this. Like he almost gets more sane as the movie goes on,
yeah. He's like,
which is interesting.
I'm down for him to be like eccentric in certain situations, but it was like anytime he spoke was like pretty out there. I enjoyed it, but it wasn't like, it was a very different tone to the movie as soon as he entered it. I don't know.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Interesting. I don't have many for this. I just had like, it's not like a new story. That's not it's not a good or a bad thing really. It's just a thing. Like if you know the Dracula story, this isn't gonna blow you away. It's not like a new take on anything. Nothing here is really that new outside of the female agency, but I think I just liked the movie. Bloody good film. Can you guess for me the current IMDb score for it?
7.8.
7.6. Starting the year strong. You're very close, but not quite. I like what you're doing there. Can you guess me the Rotten Tomatoes score?
84.
It's exactly 84. My guy got it.
Woohoo! King of the Castle.
Blind squirrels and nuts, stuff like that. You know, you got it. You got to get
broken.
one. What do you think about Letterboxd then?
3. God, I want to say 3.9, but I feel like it's a 3.8.
It's a 3.8. My boy got 2. Dude, that's the best you've ever done.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Oh man, that's amazing. I one time you're gonna get all 3, and we're just gonna have to quit the show.
The world will end.
We know movies too good.
Yeah.
All right, now what we do is we do our rating system, which is, because the internet is so binary, we just say, is this better or worse than the most average movie we know, which as of right now is Aquaman 2018, and why? DL, for all the reasons you've just said, why do you think this is better than Aquaman 2018?
I mean, it's better than Aquaman 2018 because, you know, who doesn't like vampires over octopus animated
men
and things? No, it's just way better.
Yeah, I gotta say, this does play that line a little bit, because this is definitely not like a family friendly movie. Like it's a better movie, 100%, 100 times out of 100, it's a better movie. But like, this isn't for everyone. So my partner would never watch this. Like, as in, not in a trillion years. She would just have no interest. I did kind of preface it to her before we went. I asked her to watch the trailer. I was like, why don't you give this a watch, see what you think? And like, the first shot of the trailer is like Lily Rose Depp's character's face covered in blood. And it's like a flash in black and white. And she went, nope.
She's like, not only is she not a horror person, like she's actively not like, it doesn't seem like she even like wants to fuck with it at all.
Not even a little bit. So it was totally 100%. So like, I get it. If you're not into horror, if you're not into this type of film, sure, it might not be for you. But in my humble opinion, it's definitely better than Aquaman 2018. Days and days and days. Do we have any quick spoilers?
I mean, I think the biggest spoiler is that like she chooses
Ellen.
Yeah, our main girl, who's been like basically been haunted by him the whole movie. Like she's been possessed by him. Which is like, we didn't even talk about that, but she's got these crazy facial expressions that were like all her apparently. Like
wild. They're all in the trailer.
Yeah, not all of them, but a lot of them. She didn't use like any kind of like CGI for that. That was actually her.
Well, this is basically like a gaslighting relationship. So like, in the very beginning, their relationship was all about sex and him having full control and orgasms effectively. And then somehow she got him out of her life
by falling in love with this other guy. Yeah.
Right. And then invited him back in, and the toxic ex comes back, baby. He's back in her life out of nowhere and fucking shit up.
We didn't talk about it. Like, she's possessed, but she's like being pleasured.
It's so horny and so weird.
It's such a wild movie.
Like, I can't even. I literally can't even. There's so many scenes where she's got to play this dual role where she's possessed, having an orgasm, and being a fucking weirdo at the same time. It's super weird.
It's super odd.
It's odd. It's very odd. But you're absolutely right. So I think she has to overcome her fears of Count Chocula, right? That's kind of the point.
It's like not her fear. It's just like, apparently the only way to save everyone,
his hold,
is like, his hold will be like, he'll be able to like kill his whole hold on the town, because he's now gotten so far. Like, if he was just in the castle, it wouldn't have been fine. But they you know, homeboy needed his real estate deal, so he signed away this fucking house and
his wife.
Yeah, and then he got, and his wife, apparently he didn't know because it was in Morgoth writing, but he gets there, and all this, they just basically created a plague on the town, and
Yeah.
the whole town was going to burn if she didn't do this. So theoretically, she didn't have to.
Chocula kills a lot of people, including
He
2
does.
kids, which is a little bit fucked up.
For sure.
I did really like, before we get to that ending point, I did really like that Aaron Taylor Johnson's effectively whole his family take in Ellen's craziness while Nicholas Holt's off gallivanting trying to find his big deal, and her craziness and inviting Chocula into the house effectively ends up in Aaron Taylor Johnson's whole family getting murdered, and he has this like psychological breakdown over time. And it's really interesting to watch. The escalation of his like depreciating faculties sort of matches the escalation of Chocula's power over the whole like town. It's a really cool and interesting like feature of the movie that is quite easily missed, but was one of the things that I was watching it and I was going like, the ending of it is that effectively his whole family dies and Taylor Johnson gets in the crypt with them and sets himself and the whole thing on fire. That's basically his ending. And I'm like, that's literally like a metaphor for the movie. Chocula's fucking shit up. He's setting the whole town on fire, quotation marks. It's really interesting.
Well, it's also like a juxtaposition of like the more like Western scientific, perspective of like law. There's a word for it, but like, Western world and logic and all that, like not prevailing as he rises, his sanity, the guy that represents that and like capitalism and commercialism and like business logic and all that is like crumbling. So it's
Love
like,
that.
it's a quite a good like comparison, I would say. Yeah.
Capitalism, business logic, and also keeping the women in their place.
Yes. He does his best to do that.
I really like that parallel that was kind of going on in the movie. And yeah, you're right. Ellen effectively has to overcome her fears to beat the obsession of Count Chocula. And I think she dies, right? In doing so, she lets him suck her dry.
Yeah, she basically, because he's so enamored by her blood. Not really, mainly like her chest muscle. Oh God, it was gnarly.
Yeah.
But mainly that, and that's kind of what kept him there. Was he got distracted
the whole time?
He lost track of the time, and
he burned to a crisp.
Yeah, dawn doth break, and he burned to a crisp, sucking on that. Did it?
I mean, like we say, it's not changing anything in this Dracula world. The story of regular Dracula, nothing's massively different here, but it's more about the stylistics of it and the characters. I think
I don't actually know the original Dracula story, to be fair.
It's
other than like
it's this story.
He's lusty for a chick. Yeah, but that's all I know.
I mean, the lust in the regular Dracula stories, the lust is just part of it. He is just a horny motherfucker. Whereas in this, it's more about like the general top level story is he finds someone to be his host's the wrong word. He finds someone to control, usually Renfield, who helps him come back to a civilization point, and then there are characters who have to defeat him. Basically, that's pretty much
got it.
The short and skinny of it. It's not gonna blow your mind, and he sucks a bunch of blood.
Got it.
The usual stories. So let's do a little bit of trivia truffles, to wrap up. Are you happy with that, DL?
I am. Let's go.
Unless you have anything else to say about this movie in terms of spoilers.
No, I think that we've kind of covered it. I mean, the town gets covered by a plague. They breach the plague using Willem Dafoe does a fake out. Willem Dafoe kind of empowers her.
Oh, yeah, good point.
Willem Dafoe like distracts the boys. He's like, these dumb boys. I'm gonna tell them we have to go to his house and kill him. But you know what you got to do? You got to fuck this guy till the daylight. Basically. and it largely works.
You got to use all your feminine wiles.
Yeah, all your feminine wiles to keep that man sucking till daylight come. And
he does.
And he does.
And he breaks the curse. I like it. It's good.
Yeah.
All right, trivia, true or false then? Trivia, DL. Is this true or is this false? The exterior of Count Chocula's castle were filmed in a real Transylvanian castle. Is that true or is that false?
Yeah, sure. I think so. True.
It is true. It was it was Hunadora Castle, also known as Corvin Castle. It is not only one of the largest medieval castles still in Europe. What's more, it was actually the castle where Vlad Dracula was briefly imprisoned. Isn't that fascinating?
Dracula.
The castle they used for the exterior shots it's is a big part of this this world and this mythology.
Wow. That is super
There
cool.
you go.
Love to see that.
Here is another bit of trivia, true or false, DL. Bill Skarsgård was originally cast as Thomas Hutter. However, during the film's long production, Eggers decided to recast him as Count Dracula. Is that true or is that false?
False.
It's actually true. In an interview with Skarsgård, Eggers stated that he felt that the recasting was, get ready for this, was to make the sexual subtext between Orlok and some of his victims even more convincing. Because, I totally see a lot of the women on set been really into that mustache.
Yeah, makes sense. Adds up.
Two more quickly then. True or false, DL. Aaron Taylor-Johnson's training for his role in Kraven the Hunter meant that he was physically larger than Eggers envisioned Harding. Therefore, Taylor-Johnson spent 2 weeks dieting to lose weight before filming began. Is that true or is that false?
He was always wearing a tuxedo, so it's always hard to see how big someone is.
He's pretty big.
Yeah, he looked bulky in this, I thought. So I'm going to say, false, but also
Damn it,
probably
you
true.
didn't fall into my trap.
Yeah, well,
I made that
somewhat.
one up. There's no truth to that. I just gave you a bunch of nonsense.
Okay.
Because I like talking about Aaron Taylor-Johnson's abs. Finally then, director Robert Eggers credits SpongeBob SquarePants for introducing the character of Nosferatu to younger generations. Is that true or is that false?
That's so random. Fuck, dude. True.
It actually is true. In season 2, episode 16A, The Graveyard Shift, Nosferatu is introduced as a weird little character thing. There you go. Ultimately, I genuinely love this adaptation of Nosferatu. I think Robert Eggers is possibly one of my most favorite directors happening right now. I think he's got a big future, and I just want to see him do something in the present day. Do you know what I mean? Like, all of his films are set in the past. I want to see what he would make of today's. Well, no, I don't think so either. But I'd just love to see his take on it. Do you not think that would be fascinating?
I think it's like he's so quintessentially tied to folklore in every movie that I've seen, and I love that about those movies that I can't really imagine him doing a cyberpunk movie or something. What is he?
Well, just think about folklore in today's setting, and a lot of the themes he has, and we hadn't talked about these, sort of about capitalism and its effects on people and their relationships. That's a big theme in this. So I would like to see a movie set in today by Rob Eggers, but I don't think he's going to do it anytime soon. He likes his weirdness too much. DL, shall we wrap up the show, my friend?
We shall. We shall.
Where can they find us?
They can find us at the podcast assemble at gmail.com or podcast assemble on Instagram.
You've been practicing over Christmas.
Yes, that's what I did. Day in, day out.
The whole Christmas break.
I just repeated all those things. No, that's the stuff that you can...
The podcast assemble at gmail.com.
Do. You can see us and find us there. A big thank you to Matthew Bliss for editing and mastering this week's episode. It wasn't that... I don't know how much work you had to do, Matt. There's a couple edits this time. We kind of just rolled...
There's a few.
There's a few. It's an easy one for you. You're going to have... You have time
to some of our efforts.
To have dinner with your wife. That's awesome. If you'd like to be a part of... or Matt to be a part of his podcasting... Oh, God. If you'd like Matt to be a part of your podcasting team... Yeah, just please get in touch with them at business@mbpod.com or mbpod.com. Head there to find out more about his services. If you want to hear his work, he's got a Coffee with Podcaster podcast, short thought pieces on topics of podcasting nature.
Super wholesome content.
Shared over a cup of, I don't know, tea maybe?
Cup of tea?
No, it's
cup of tea?
Coffee. It's called Coffee with Podcaster, dude. Of course it's coffee.
You have to have coffee. Or you could have tiramisu. It has coffee in it. Who knows?
Ooh, that's
guys,
nice.
If you could give us a 5-star review, that would help us to the world and back. We're in the world, to the moon and back. Some analogy. It's very early here. I still don't know what's going on. And if you know anyone who might like this kind of geeky content, if you could give them the gift of Podcast Assemble this new year, that would make us incredibly happy. Thank you all for sticking with it, DL. Till next time.
Until next time.
Tally-ho!